Hi, welcome to the Docker Community All Hands. Today we're going to be talking about Helm, a great way for templating Kubernetes and other YAML files. Here's the part where I tell you I am definitely going to post the slides on my site tonight. I've been chasing the speaker and it's never worked out very well for me either, which is why you can go to robrich.org. Let's head there now. Click on presentations, and here's at the Helm of Kubernetes. The slides and the code that we'll see today are online already. While we're here on robrich.org, let's click on About Me and see some of the things that I've done recently. I'm a Cyril developer advocate. If you're struggling with your data mesh, I would love to learn from you. I'm a Microsoft MVP, a Docker captain, and a friend of Redgate. AZ GiveCamp is really fun. AZ GiveCamp brings volunteer developers together with charities to build free software. We start building software Friday after work. Sunday afternoon, we deliver the completed software to the charities. Sleep is optional, caffeine provided. If you're in Phoenix, come join us for the next AZ GiveCamp. Or if you'd like a GiveCamp near you, hit me up on email or Twitter, and let's get a GiveCamp in your neighborhood too. Some of the other things that I've done, I do a lot with Docker and Kubernetes training and consulting. If you have that need, let's talk. Another thing that I've done, I replied to a .NET Rocks podcast episode. They read my comment on the air, and they sent me a mug. Woohoo! So there's my claim to fame, my coveted .NET Rocks mug. So let's dig into Kubernetes. Now, the cool part about Helm is Helm is a package manager for Kubernetes. Helm can template YAML files, build installable packages, and share packages with others. Wait a minute. Isn't that exactly what Docker does? Doesn't it package up all of our software in a way that we can distribute? Well, yeah. Docker packages up the software. Helm packages up the Kubernetes resources. You know, that deployment and the service and the Ingress and all of that other YAML, maybe secrets and config maps, all of that content can get packaged up inside of a Helm chart. Helm doesn't replace Docker Hub. In fact, Helm actually starts with, so let's pull a container from Docker Hub or another registry. Rather, it simplifies all of the YAML files. It allows us to template out some of the YAML redundancies. Let's take a look at Helm. Now, we're going to dig into a lot of the pieces of Helm to be able to take a look at how it works. Let's dig in. Now, I have here a project inside of VS Code. I have my website together with my Docker file, and I've already built that Docker image. Now, I have this Kubernetes YAML file that specifies the service, the deployment, and the ingress associated with this object. Now, I could template out lots of things, but in this case, I'm only templating out that service, deployment, and ingress. Now, we notice that there's a lot of duplication. For example, here's at the Helm, and it's all over the place. We also have the port 80 in a bunch of places. I wish we could just focus in on the content that we wanted to. Let's do that. Now, I'm going to build a new folder, and in my case, I'll call it chart. But we could call it anything. I'm just calling it chart because it's a Helm chart. Now inside the chart folder, we will create another new folder called template, or actually templates. Let's rename this folder to templates. And then inside the chart folder, let's create a new file called values.yaml. Now inside values.yaml, let's go select all of the things that are specific that we might want to worry about. Well, let's grab this name. We definitely want to do that. Let's grab the service type of node port. I'll actually change this to service type. And let's grab the port. It's 80. We can grab the number of replicas here. The number of pods that we'll create, there's that one. We could also grab the image label here. And so rather than calling it version, let's call it image label. There we go. And we can also grab some details. Here's the registry. And so let's grab that. Registry. ACR URL, we've already got the image label, so we can form this full URL. That's great. We have this section about resources. Let's grab that. Now we'll need to indent this YAML correctly. There we go. And now we have ingress details. Now, in some cases, we might have a service that isn't exposed publicly, so we may not have an ingress. Let's say ingress enabled true. Okay, now that we've got our ingress enabled, we can take a look at other things. Now we do have this ingress host, so maybe we're going to grab this part, and I'll just grab this one, ingress host. Oh, actually, I'm going to grab the whole thing. There we go. We can also grab the annotations associated with this. So let's say ingress annotations, and that's all of the things. Now, these are the values that we care about, but we do have a whole lot more YAML that we can see in all of these places. Yeah, let's focus in on just the things that we care about. Now, with this values.yaml, that is exactly what we want. Let's also now reach into this, and let's grab chart.yaml. Now, this chart.yaml file is a great way to specify some of the default values. Now, this is what Helm needs to be able to identify the components of this chart. We have an API version, we have a name at the Helm. Oh, so we don't need it here in values.yaml, we have it in that chart.yaml. Description, this will be a description that we have in our chart. We can also have two different types of charts, an application or a library. Now, in this case, we have an application. A library would be shared Helm functions that we might want to consume from lots of places. And we also have a version and an app version. Now, this is helpful. What if I find a bug in my chart? I can bump my chart version without bumping my application version. Now I know that maybe 0.1.0 is my chart version, but in my application, I'm hosting 2.3 or something like that. So I love this chart mechanism that allows us to do some really cool things. Okay, so now let's split this kdes.yaml into its various sections. Here's the service details. So let's, here in templates, create a new file, service.yaml, and we will put the service YAML there. We can grab the deployment YAML. Let's go select that and copy it into a deployment YAML, deployment.yaml. Let's set that in place. And the last piece we have is this ingress YAML. So let's copy that here in templates, new file, ingress.yaml. And we'll set that in place too. So let's now start to replace some of these values in this file with the content from our values.yaml or from our chart.yaml. Where did we put our chart.yaml? That needs to be inside. There we go. So let's start out. Now we have this name. Let's replace that with .chart.name. And we can do that in all of the places where we have at the Helm. Perfect. Now let's also replace this service type. We can say .values.service type. And we can also replace this with .values.port. And we have another spot here for a port. Wow, we've pretty much scaffolded out all of the redundancy in this service with values here in our values.yaml. Next, let's do that here in our deployment. I'm going to copy chart.name, and we can just replace all of these at the Helm places with chart.name. Great, that was fast. Replicas, .values.replicas. We've got that in place. Image label, let's come here with image label. ACR URL, we've got the registry. And image label, there's the image label there. Now we will need to put a quote around this so that YAML knows that this is one complete string. having all of the mayhem in here gets it a little bit confused. Okay, so let's do values.port. And now we've done a lot to clean up this. Now let's come back to the resources. Next, let's take a look at Ingress. Now here in Ingress, we have this Ingress host. We have this chart.name. We have this values.port. And here's a chart.name. Wow, we really cleaned up that Ingress as well. Now, that was great. We were able to replace a lot of these things with the values in values.yaml. Let's take a look and make sure that we did this correctly. Helm lint chart, giving it our folder name there. One chart linted, no failures yet. Great. Next up, let's start talking about how we might replace these types of annotation pieces. Now, in this case, we have a lot of different pieces. We might have many YAML pieces. So let's here say dot, there it is. Scrolling through my notes. There it is. Now here, I'm going to say to yaml.values.ingress annotations. Now, I do need to make sure that this YAML is indented correctly. Right now, it's indented 4 spaces. So I'm going to say an indent 4. Okay. Let's also use a similar mechanism here to be able to, if the thing exists. So I'm going to say dash if dot values dot ingress enabled. Because this is a Boolean value, we can do that. And here I will say dash end. Now these are Go templates. So if you're familiar with the Go templating library, the Go template syntax, then this will be old hat. We've indented this to 4 values using the toYAML function here. Let's do a similar thing here in our deployment. Now, in our deployment, we have a bunch of resources. We'll put that here. So let's say values resources. But now we need to indent 10 lines instead of just 4. There we go. Now, there's one other place that we might want to fix up. If our registry is blank, we'll have our container start with this leading slash. Well, we probably don't want to do that. Let's, pardon me. Let's add an if here, and let's say if.values.registry. If that's set, then let's do this. This dash will space trim. So we won't get an extra space here or here if this value is blank. And then if the registry is set, we will show values registry and the slash. And then here we will say end. Okay. Now if the registry is set, we will use it and the slash. And if the registry is not set, we won't use it. We'll just start with the chart name. Perfect. Okay, let's take a look. Helm lint, and we'll give it the folder name chart in this case. One chart linted, no chart failures. Great. Now here we only scaffolded out the service, the deployment, and the ingress, but we could definitely scaffold out anything else. Roles, users, persistent volumes and claims, or config maps, or any of the secrets or any of the other details that we would want to scaffold. To that end, it's just YAML. We could scaffold out anything. That's cool. Now, how do we package this? Let's come back out to the console and let's say Helm Template chart, passing in that folder name. Ooh, that's pretty cool. We got our service, we got our deployment, and we got our ingress. Let's send this to a file. I'm going to call this dist.yaml. Now that we've got that in place, Let's take a look at dis.yaml and compare it to our original file. In this case, I'm going to use beyond compare, and we will take a look at how we did. Did we template it correctly? Well, in our Helm templated file, we do have this comment at the beginning. That's totally fine. But looking through, we do have the single quotes around this. But it looks like everything is working out great. We've been able to scaffold out this, or template this YAML file together with all of the various details. But now we have much, pardon me, much simpler YAML pieces to look at. Okay, now let's delete this dis.yaml. We don't need that anymore. And let's create, let's see if we can set some variables. So Helm Template Chart, that just dumped out some things. But what if we want to say, for example, set the host or disable Ingress? Let's do that. Let's say Helm Template Chart. I'm going to set image label equal to version 0.1.0 and ingress enabled equals false. Ooh, we didn't get the ingress here, and we were able to set some variables. In this case, the image label is right here. The version is now set based on that image label. Perfect. Now, let's see if we're building from a build system and we only need to apply this content into Kubernetes, we could do exactly that. So let's say image label is v0.1.0, ingress host is blank, registry is blank, and we will pipe that to kubectl apply -f dash. Now, because we do a -f dash, it will grab standard input and it will set that into place. We've now kubectl get all. We've now created all of this content here inside of Kubernetes. Now, maybe we're coming out of our build system and we just created a bunch of content. We just need to start it. We could stop here, and this would be a perfect use case for Helm. Well, now that we've got this Helm content installed, we can do a Helm list, and it will, nope, Helm ls, and it can, and we can take a look. Nope, we didn't do it that way. Okay, so let's kubectl delete. Nope. So I've got my content. Now, actually, let's go through and delete it. We can just say, instead of apply, let's kubectl delete, and it will scaffold out all of that content and be able to delete all of that content out of Kubernetes as well. Now, what if we want to package this into a more distributable bundle? Maybe we want to upload this to a registry and pull it down later to deploy it. Let's do that. So right now, we just applied it straight to Kubernetes, but we can say Helm package chart, and it will grab the content and zip it up into this .tar.gz file. Now let's take a look at what's in that file. I'm going to unzip this file, show more options, 7-zip, I want to extract it. Now that gzipped it, let's now untar it. 7-zip extract here. Now we have this at the Helm folder. Inside the at the Helm folder, we have our chart, our values, and the templates. Perfect. Now we could choose to, let's diff this folder then, show more options, select left, and come back here and compare it to our chart folder. Select right. And we can see that we've got all of that content into place. Now it did sort these alphabetically. Or no, those are identical. Let's just show the differences. It did choose to sort these alphabetically, and that's totally fine. And here in the templates folder, we have those values set that we've chosen to. Oh, no, actually, these are the same. So we only see a difference here in this chart.yaml. Perfect. Now let's delete these two pieces and let's package it a little bit differently. Now I said Helm package chart, but I want to set some variables. So let's say -- set image label is v0.1.0, ingress host is ... Except for we can't actually use package to do that. We can set the app version to 0.1.0 and the version to 0.1. But we can't actually do set things. Well, that's where there's a great Helm plugin called Pack. And Helm Pack is actually a really cool plugin that gives us back that set. So now we can say -- set all of the things. So here where we previously said package, let's switch that from package to pack. And now we can do this. I'm going to give it a -- destination folder of the dist folder. And let's set image label equals v0.1.0 and registry equals ... and ingress host equals ... Now, probably if we were, now with that plugin already installed, let's come back and we'll do this Helm pack command. Now, if we were to consistently set the variables this way, we might want to go into our values.yaml and set it. But maybe we just came out of our CI system and we wanted to set the Git hash or the product version. And so we could definitely do that here. Now I have a dist / at the helm 0.1.0.t.tar.gzip. Okay, so now let's add one more file into this. Let's add a README. Now I'm going to come here into templates and go grab a notes. Let's come back here into chart and we'll set this notes in place. Now this notes is actually really cool. This notes includes details associated with this thing. So we have a .release name and instructions about how to start it. We're using this if here to say, if you have an Ingress host, I'm going to give you a little bit more detail. So let's actually go delete this at the helm and recompute it. There we go. We're rebuilding this and now we've got that package. Okay, so now if I say Helm Install my app, I'll just give it a name there. And now I can point it at a dist / at the helm file. And I can also set variables here. So I'm going to say ingress enabled equals false and replicas equals 2. Now, I didn't need to worry about all of the Kubernetes details. I could just focus on the variables that I wanted to set different than the way that they were packaged inside this Helm file. And now I get this really nice README explaining all of the details about how I did this. Let's do that. Helm status my app. And it will show me, well, this README again. Helm get all my app. Now, this is all of the resources that my app created. So here's the deployment. Here is the service. We didn't have Ingress in this case, so because we turned that off. Now I can see kubectl get all, and I can see the 2 pods running and my service, and I didn't need to worry about any of those details. Maybe I also could include secrets or config maps or users or role bindings. All of that could be scaffolded out in a really elegant way. So let's come here to this node port and we can go view our app. So localhost 32,040, and here's our website running. That's great. It spun up really easily and I didn't need to worry about any of the configuration details other than those that I really cared about. Okay, so now what if we want to upgrade this? Now, maybe we have a new feature in our application. Maybe we need to adjust some content. So I'm going to Helm list. Now we can see that it's currently version 1. I'm going to reinstall the current version, Helm upgrade my app dot dist slash at the helm, and I could give it the same one or a different one, helm list. We can now see we're running on version 2, and automatically those Kubernetes resources could get recycled or upgraded depending on the details that we wanted to put into our application. Now, what if we wanted to install it twice on the same cluster? Right now, when we say kubectl get all of these resources are service slash at the helm. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we could include the release name in this so that we might be able to install 2 different versions of it? Let's do that. Here in the notes, we have a release.name, so let's wander through our content adding that. So here in the deployment, the name will be chart.name - release.name. In our selector, we will have another entry here for release.name. Let's do that also here. Release will include that reference. We don't need to modify any of the other content here because I think we've kind of got that. Next, in our service, we need to modify the service name to include -release name. We need to add that additional selector for this release, and all the rest of the content works as expected. Similarly, in the ingress, we will change our name to chart name -release name. We'll also need to change the service that we're going to include that release name. And now we know that we've got that release specific content in all the places. Now, we didn't change our application at all, but we did change our Helm chart. So let's come back here and let's say Helm pack chart. That's the name of our folder. We'll give it an app version of 0.1.0. Our app didn't change, only our Helm chart. So now let's say version is 0.1.1. Our chart changed versions, our packaged application did not. We'll give it a destination of dist, and we will set some variables. Let's set image label to v0.1.0. That's the container tag. We'll also set our registry equal to nothing and our ingress host equal to nothing. And now that we've packed this chart into this 0.1.1 package, let's install that. Helm install my app2 dist / at the helm, and we'll pick the .1.1 version of it. Let's also set ingress enabled equals false and replicas equals 1. Cool. kubectl get all, and now we can see that not only do we have those 2 versions, but we also have the original pods and the new pods, and we would also have ingress if we hadn't have disabled it. Now they can play nicely together. Helm list, and we can see that we have our original app now on revision 2 and the new app on revision 1, and we can see the chart package that we use to install it. This one is 0.1.0 and this one is 0.1.1. Perfect. Now, how do I get this out? Helm uninstall my app and Helm uninstall my app2. And now kubectl get all, and I can see that all of that content is removed just as easily as it was installed. I didn't need to worry about what Kubernetes YAML pieces sprawled throughout my cluster. Now, what if I want to run charts from others or share charts? I could choose to publish my charts to a registry. Let's take a look at Artifact Hub. Now, Artifact Hub is a great place to discover Helm charts in the same way that we use Docker Hub to discover containers. So let's do this. Let's take a look for Nginx, and I'm going to grab this Nginx chart. Now, Nginx has a bunch of things that I can use to install it, but in this case, I can just grab the chart straight out of this registry. Now, what's interesting here is I first need to add this other repository. Artifact is not a chart registry, but rather a chart registry. So it helped me discover this Bitnami registry. I will add that Bitnami registry. And now that I've got that Bitnami registry in place, I will go grab the Helm Install, and I will set that in place too. Now, I didn't need to worry about any of the particulars about what I needed to do to configure Nginx. I just needed to go grab it. kubectl get all, and I now have Nginx running in my cluster. Let's go to localhost to this node port and take a look at it. Localhost, that port, and now we've got Nginx. That was a great way to be able to evaluate the software and maybe configure it based on my needs by overriding those details inside values.yaml. And just as easily as I installed it, Helm list, I can list Helm list. Just as easily as I was able to install it, let's Helm uninstall my release and then kubectl get all, and we can see just that easily all of that content is uninstalled from my machine as well. Now that was great. We got to see lots of different mechanisms inside of Helm to be able to template out the content and focus in on just those values that we cared about. We saw how we could use that to maybe just quickly push that content into a container, into a Kubernetes cluster. Maybe we're coming straight out of our build and want to go straight into our cluster. We saw how we could upgrade that mechanism to package our content in really interesting ways and be able to pass that on to a Helm chart registry. And we saw how easy it was to pull various content from Artifact Hub to be able to start various containerized products without having to look through all of the documentation and configuration details. Now that's great. You can play with Helm at whatever level you want to. Maybe you only need to scaffold out a YAML file. Maybe it's not even a Kubernetes file. You can remove a lot of duplication and you pardon me. You remove a lot of duplication and you can focus in on only those values that you care about. Now what's cool is because the Helm YAML is just standard Kubernetes YAML, then you don't need anything installed on your Kubernetes cluster to make this work. All of the details about Helm list are just stored as details on the namespace. Next, Helm was a great way to be able to scaffold out this content to be able to install it nicely in our cluster. But it really only takes care of that install and uninstall process. Now, if we wanted to take a look at monitoring or scaling or healing, we could definitely scaffold out those details, but Helm itself does not really help with those details. Now, if we wanted to, we could level up from Helm into other mechanisms, like a Kubernetes operator. With a Kubernetes operator, we could create a Helm-based operator that will only help us with installation and upgrades. We could upgrade that to an Ansible-based operator that might help us with those lifecycle hooks. Or we could upgrade to a Go operator that can give us some mechanisms where we can really take control over scaffolding out all of the resources and validating that the configuration passed matches all of the resources that we've created across our cluster. Helm is great for getting started. If you want to upgrade, Kubernetes operators are a great way to go. As you grab these slides from robrich.org, click on all the blue links to be able to learn more about each of these topics. So Helm is great for removing that duplication. We could focus in just on those dozen or so values that we really cared about and leave all of the duplication of Kubernetes YAML behind. Now it's definitely there inside the template files if we want to adjust it, but we could focus in on those values that we really cared about, setting them as we built our Helm chart package or setting them as we deployed our Helm chart into our cluster. Now, in our first step, we did a Helm template where we just grab that and set it straight into Kubernetes. This can be great if I'm just coming out of my CI system and I don't want to have to worry about packaging and deploying. I just kubectl apply and all of those values are set in place. If we want to package it, we can use Helm Pack, the plugin, to be able to set values that we need to and yield that Helm chart package that we might choose to upload to a registry. And then as we install, we can override the values in values.yaml with things that are specific to the cluster that we're installing from. We could upgrade again to be able to deploy charts from others or publish our own charts into a place where others can consume it. And what's really nice about Helm is you can play at whatever level makes sense for you. If you only need to template out YAML files, Kubernetes or otherwise, then you can just stick with the template section. But if you want to publish your content and consume it either internally or externally, you can work up to those levels as well. Helm is a great place to be able to scaffold out these YAML files and focus in on the content that we really care about without having to deal with all of the extra redundancy in Kubernetes YAML files. I hope you give Helm a chance, and you can grab both the code and the slides right now on robrich.org. If you're joining us live, I look forward to joining you in that place where the conference has designated for live Q&A. Or if you're watching this video later, hit me up on Twitter at Rob_Rich, and let's continue the conversation. Thanks for joining us for At the Helm of Kubernetes.